Sorry about that. Like I said, I don't have the video equipment in order to do this, and I never had intention to. And I just don't want to invest the money into something that obviously nobody's really watching this anyway. But when it becomes obvious what I'm pointing out, people will watch this and they will share this with others that understand what has been taken from us, what has been lied to us, and what has been. I mean, seriously, guys, this right here, the Chicago Rising, where they talked about. Okay, so this is a brick stone building. And this is what I want you guys to understand. Nobody understands like construction and stuff. Okay, you're gonna basically play Jenga with that. And if you get it off wrong, you're it's gonna go. So all they did was backfill it here, put a top on, and the Chicago Rising. So where's this at? Let's go back and do some reading on this. This is where you have to read. I mean, many Chicago Many of Central Chicagoans hurried to erect wooden frame buildings were now considered inappropriate to the beginning of the increasingly wealth of the city. Rather than raise them several feet, remember this all started with them putting in plumbing and raising it from the mud. So because they had poo-poo running down the street, and I'm serious, like guys, this is so funny. When I figured this out and God sent me, I was like, oh, this is going to be a riot. I mean, when you think about this and you look at our history and I start pointing out what is really, I mean, it's so obvious, it's not even funny. Okay, so just if you go through it and read it, it says basically, man, I wish I could have highlighted this one. So basically, they were taking they were taking these old frame houses and they're relocating them and replacing them with new masonry block buildings to the latest grade. Consequently, the practice of putting the old multi-stories intact and furnished wooden buildings, sometimes inner rows of them on the block, on rollers, moving them to the outskirts of town or the suburbs, was so common to be considered nothing more than routine traffic. So you had a bunch of guys walking down the road all day long, every day doing this. For how long? And then let's really talk about it. They said that they did all this, and then let's find out what they really did with Chicago. Yeah, here we go. Rising the for the plumbing. Remember, it was 4 to 5 feet. Okay, so this is how they repaid Chicago to hide their sins, is they burned it to the ground. And when you understand this stuff and you understand God is in this, then you're going to start to understand it's time. It's time for us to put all our differences aside and to come together under God, because truth is in God. Satan is rolled with lies and deception. And if you, like I said, if you don't believe that, then this channel is probably not for you, because you're going to believe the narrative that they've been telling you. And like I said, plumbing, like I said, it when you look at electrical plumbing and when they're telling you it was invented when it was installed, and I'll go through every city in Colorado and I'll prove that this is the biggest farce lie that you've ever seen. We've been here way longer than they taught us, and our history is not, because you have to think about it. All the wars, pestilence, food shortages, fires, all of this stuff, natural disasters. I mean, they went to war on the United States to divide, split us up, move us. I mean, it's mass migration and stuff. That's what they did. And whatever they did killed off a lot of people, because then they started bringing in migrant children. And the reason being is, like a child. I mean, they're not going to question their history, where they're from or anything. I mean, they're really not. They're just going to grow up and try to survive during that time. Nobody's going to really and say, because think about it. The earlier times that they tell you, these guys were the dumbest people on the planet, and they basically didn't even know how to spell. And yet they were able to do complex math problems, very complex math problems. And what I mean by that is the complex math problem of laying out a city already, putting the buildings where they are, because they didn't move. They already had the streets laid out. This is one of the marvels that I can't believe nobody has comprehended yet. Okay, so let me help you explain this. When you lay out a city and you lay it out wrong, you have to come back in and tear all these buildings out, move them back 4 feet or 10 feet, because think about that. They do that now. They, what do they call that? They, domain the land. I prominent domain. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank on it. Where they actually confiscate the land if you don't sell it to them, and then they just do whatever they want with it. That's how our government's been. But when these guys originally installed these cities, they were designed for wagons and everything else. The automobile has enslaved America, and when we figured that out, you're going to understand how they enslaved us with it. But that's just it. You have to understand history, where things come from. You know, most people don't understand this, but when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor and stuff, and then in the 60s they tried to bring over Japanese, you know, motorcycles and equipment, and nobody wanted them. And I'll tell you why, is because Japan made the warships. Kawasaki Industries. Most people think that Kawasaki just builds motorcycles. You have to understand, Kawasaki is heavy industry. They built the warships for Japan. Zero, Honda, all of them, they're all tied together. And so because they had the Mitsubishi Zero, instead of introducing Mitsubishi into the United States, they changed the name to Datsun, and then later changed it to, so that way the American people would accept it. And that's the thing. Most people that, you know, when I talk to people about history and everything, my life experiences, you know, I've ran into people, and this is just my past life, but I've ran into Harley guys, and I love motorcycles. I think they're the most freedom gift that God has ever given us. It's an iron horse. You know, if I can't ride horses, I can at least ride a motorcycle now, and that's that's just it. Freedom. And this is what this video is about, is our history, our freedom, what has been stolen from us. And I don't know how to put this out anymore. I mean, I'm going to continue to make videos to point out the obvious, but you know, like I'm saying, when they come in and they lay in the pipe for the plumbing. So if they have to move this building back, that means they got to cut the water main, move it back, the sewer line, reinstall all of that. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, is all the history through Colorado is basically, in the world, is they're telling you they rebuilt this shit over and over again. And all they did, really, when you understand what they were up to, was they did this. They just remodeled and kept history going. So like I said, we've been here a lot longer. The United States is founded, think about this, 1855, they built a massive stone structure. Now granted, it is in Chicago because that's where the earlier ones. But I'm telling you why Chicago is being built. All of Colorado is already being built too. And I'll continue down that with the steel mill now. I'll continue. I just, when I got off on this, I never really looked at this. I heard about it and I really didn't study it, why they did what they did. And then when I was doing my research into plumbing and stuff, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And you know, the thing is nobody questions this. Everyone just buys it. And let's go back and look at a picture again. Is this one? Yeah, so this is normal traffic to have a bunch of guys walking down the street carrying big buildings at basically 1866. So yeah, you know, they might have raised this building, but here's the thing you have to understand. When they do the foundations, and let's take a look at. Okay, so I want to give you an idea. The brick building in the back would basically be something similar to this. We'll go back and look at it. I wish I knew how to close that out. Okay, so I want to give you guys an idea. This is the Equitable Building in Denver, Colorado. It's still today, and it's a beautiful structure. Absolutely just beautiful when you really look at it. And you could tell that this is the early 1920s. And so let's look at the actual construction of this. Oh, why won't you let me do it? That's weird. It won't let me do it. Okay, so when you look at the foundation that they actually have to make for this, and that's just it. It's a brick building, and you could go through these photographs in my drive, and they'll show you how they had to lay the foundation of the brick first. And so if you're going to raise a building like that, you're going to have to do it inch by inch, and not only that, you're going to have to make sure you don't crack and offset it by, you know, if this side's lower than the other side, it's going to twist and it'll start breaking the block apart. You're going to play Jenga. That's what you're going to do. It's going to be this shit show. And that's what I'm trying to help you guys understand. We've been lied to about everything, and everything I've went through, looked at, read. It's just this made up shit that, you know, and everybody's bought it. And that's what it really is. So like I said, please share with somebody that understands this, and hopefully somebody has more than I do, and they're able to, because it's time, brothers and sisters of the world. It's truth for everybody. And it's sick of this fucking, are you not sick of the world and the shit that is going on? They've been doing this for fucking years, killing and destroying us. And we let it happen. In fact, we applaud it. We hire entertainers to entertain us about it. That's how bad it is. But until you come to reality of what's being portrayed in front of you, you'll never see truth. and the truth is not in him, was Satan. So, like I said, let's continue on. I'll go through the Chicago. Actually, I'm done with Chicago. I'm going to go back to pointing out the steel mill and how they've changed history, what they did.